Good morning, everyone. Just waiting on my charts again. They're very slow loading this morning, so I will be with you in just one moment. Bear with me. Okay, seems like everything is up and running. All right, let's take a look what's been going on here in the NASDAQ. Yesterday, the market did end up putting in a little bit of a rally, but pretty quiet day overall. This morning, however, you can see we're opening with a little bit of a gap again. I don't know, this market, it's been so dead slow going the last few days or even weeks. I still can't help but think that maybe we're looking at a reversal. But every time I do that, the stock market rallies higher. Yeah, speaking of which, here they go again. That's all right. It's just a few minutes out of the open. Well, what do we think? The Geiger counter is pulling hard over here. I don't know if I want to jump on board just yet. Decisions. We don't really have any of our setups presenting themselves, do we? Maybe if I get a second push opportunity. Yeah, there they go. So what I mean by a second push is, obviously we've got a secondary signal here. If I can see the market retreat from the signal, that might give me a little bit more confidence to try to buy in. that might be as close to a second push as we're going to get. What time is it? Oh, we're only about 5-6 minutes into the day. So this is a little bit of a crapshoot, shall we say? I guess the trendline touch signal was the closest signal we have going. All right, well, let's see what we get. It looks like they slipped me a tick on the entry, so I'm going to take that back. Oh, and here come the sellers now. Excuse me. All right, well, just my luck, they are hanging tough there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cover the trade on the other side of the resistance line right there. I am going to get this trade very, very tight. Just because all that early momentum that we saw, you know, where is it gone? Oops. There we go. So if this high holds, look at me buying the high of the day. It's probably going to be a good time to get out. And if this high yields and we see, say, 56.71, then I think we'll be all right getting to the next resistance zone. We got ourselves quite a little tug of war going on here. Oh, hold on a second here, Tony. Is there something wrong with my data? 6:43. No, my clock is right. Tony says my Raptor chart's four bars behind his. Well, you are further east, Tony, so things happen to you first. Aiden, welcome. Aiden's a new member. First day in. Yes, I hope I have a good one too. They're being a little bit stubborn right now. And as I mentioned, this wasn't exactly one of our high probability signals that we tend to look for. But it did seem like we had some upward momentum out of the gate, and I was trying to take advantage of that. And they're taking their time here at the moment. But hopefully we've reached 56.71. Not quite the follow-through I was anticipating. I thought we would see the market accelerate another couple bars. Maybe if we can get on the other side of 56.72. Come on. Get up there. Come on. Give me one more bar. We haven't generated an eagle signal yet. I think the falcon signal that came right on the opening bell has already found its profit objective. Yes, it has. Get back here to the action on the hawk, or pardon me, the raptor. And Gary says the 30-year bond, that's the ZB, is excruciating. Or for those of you south of the 49th, the ZB. All right, I hate to do it, but I'll have to bring the magic mouse in, and we're going to have to push this market up a little bit. Come on, get up there. Let's go. I hate manipulating the markets this way, but every once in a while, get up there. Come on. Come on. Oh, man. Usually the magic mouse would have moved the market by now, but this is getting a little silly. There we go. Come on. I just holding on the high here. There we go. Okay. So at least the trade should get to break even now. It keeps beating its head against the next resistance zone. 56.73 3/4. There we go. I'm going to force the trade to break even now. We're only a tick short of our break-even trigger. They're making me work for this one. I don't like working. Come on, get up there. Uh, Well, at least there's a little bit of a trend, albeit a very slow one. Yeah, we didn't really have any other follow-up signals. This is interesting. Trade forecaster saying we are going to be in trend mode for about an hour's time. Well, that's encouraging because, of course, in trend mode, the pullbacks tend to be less severe, usually. Okay, finally got the break-even trigger. Well, it appears to be a buyer's market again today. Right out of the open, we haven't seen one bearish bar. By that I mean something like this, where the bar actually closed below the low of the bar before it. So we're just knocking on the door now of our profit objective.
Order canceled.
Oh, whew. Now, I actually think the market's going to trickle a little bit higher from here. Well, trickle, if it keeps up this pace, it's going to trickle, but I'm okay taking my profit on target. As I mentioned, right out of the gate, for about a half an hour now, the market has been in rally mode. So very often we'll see a little bit of a pullback or something. David asking, good morning, Eric. Why doesn't your current trade P&L show before your entry summary? Because I have turned it off. So if you click on it, you can toggle through it. Some people like to watch the dollars and cents roll by. Some people like to see it as a tick value or a percentage of your account. I find it distracting personally, so I turn it off. I want to make my decision based on the chart, not on the P&L. That's me. It's fun watching the P&L go by so long as it's in the green. Not so much fun watching it go by when it's got that darn little minus sign in front of it. Yeah, Floyd says the YM's not moving. Okay, and David's having some audio problems. 1 second here. Thanks, Tony. Tony says audio is good on his end. It's, yeah, I don't know why it cuts out sometimes. It could be the software. Yeah, Floyd says the YM, that's the mini Dow, is not following the NASDAQ. They do have a tendency to move together, but not always. The YM, of course, more industrial type stocks, and the NASDAQ tends to be more tech stocks. Well, the way they were hesitating here again, I almost thought we were going to see a little bit of a retrace. I thought perhaps we would see a retrace to the hard edge, but they are content to push the NASDAQ higher still. Yeah, no problem, David. David says, I fixed my audio. Can you please explain the P&L again? Sure. You can, if you click on your P&L, you can toggle through the various options. So you can see the dollar amount, you can see the tick value, you can see it as a percentage of your capital, or you can turn it off. For me personally, I find it distracting, so I like to turn it off. I like to make my decision based on what's going on in the chart rather than what my P&L is. Some people like to watch the numbers roll by. I'm not one of those people. I end up watching the P&L tick by instead of looking at the chart. But my wife will tell you I'm not a multitasker. Nope, just give me one thing to do at a time. Oh, look at them go. Tony's asking, Eric, when time permits, will you go over your opening range setup and how you use it? Okay, I think what you're referring to are these initial balance lines that I have on my Raptor chart. The initial balance lines, they are available from Indicator Warehouse. And what you can do with them is you can set your opening range, so your start time. Look at that. Was there a report today I didn't know about? So you can set your start times, and then you can set your opening range high and low. So what I've done is I've set the opening range, or the start time at 6:30, so for 30 minutes, it will plot the high and low of that first half hour of trading. The idea is that the first half hour of trading tends to be the most influential because that's when the big boys, and I'm using air quotes, the big boys do their trading. They get in, they put on their positions, and then they, well, they don't go home, but you know, they get their positions in early. The opening range highs and lows tend to be influential throughout the day. Here's yesterday's session. And you can see here was the opening range high, here was the opening range low. And then about a half an hour later, the market bounced off of that low. It did breach, but it didn't stay below. Came up, tagged the high, broke it slightly, and then bounced again. So it's that's the logic behind it. I don't follow the numbers religiously. However, you know, if I notice any sensitivity around that area, it does make for a decent target. Just as a, for instance, if we get a reversal signal here, you know, if we get a number 2 counter-trend signal, the opening range low would make a very nice target. Now notice it also coincides with the support and resistance line, so it's not really I'm missing out on anything. Now you can pick up the initial balance lines from Indicator Warehouse. It's on the website, I believe under secondary indicators. There's also a free version available at the NinjaTrader forum. The difference is the one at the Ninja forum does not resize your chart. So what happens is, if your opening range is set, your bars will not resize to suit the chart. It's a little convoluted to say, but once you put it on your chart, you'll see what I mean. Well, I have to admit that was a little bit more follow through than I anticipated, but I'm not bent out of shape about it. You know, I still got my profit. Thank you very much. So the challenge for us right now is to try to stay with the trend. The market, you know, seems like it's in a pretty strong uptrend this morning. So the challenge will be not to get too silly and try to short it too aggressively. Although a pullback is a good buying opportunity, and everybody and their brother is going to be waiting for the market to give something resembling a pullback so that all the latecomers can get on board. And we might not get it. Here's a double dot reversal in the Falcon, but I've got nothing I can tie it in with, right? If you're going to look at doing a double dot, you have to look back in the history of your chart and say, oh, look, last time the market was up here, this is what happened. We have none of that. It's almost like trading in slow motion. So the other mornings, when I tried to run out my trade, the market would end up reversing and tagging me at break even. And the morning I take my profit, the market actually goes a few extra ticks. Welcome to the world of trading. Tony asking, with the opening range, if the market comes down to the opening range, would you consider a buy opportunity? Well, yes, if we get a signal from there. I'm not much for trying to second guess where the market is going to react. Like, we know that usually we get some sort of reaction off the hard edge, right? So a lot of traders will start buying when the market hits the hard edge. But occasionally you get one of these things happening too, where the market blows right through the hard edge before recovering. So for me personally, I like to wait and make sure we have a reaction before I get in. But yeah, if the market retraces here to the upper end of the zone, I think that's a very feasible and reasonable place to look for a reaction and perhaps a buying opportunity. Oh, Gary. Hold on a second here, Gary. I'm going to see if I can pull up the bond market. Gary says, if I can get one more tick out of bonds, I'm bailing. Just looking to get a break-even trade. Are you long or short the bonds, Gary? Oh, you're short. Okay, well, you might be all right because if the stock market is ticking higher, the bonds will have a tendency to try to move lower. Gary says, not today. All right, so let's take a look here at the bond market. And you're going to notice I've got the bonds on the faster settings. You could probably even speed them up a little bit more. You could probably even go 244. That would be a 2-tick Hawk, a 4-tick Falcon and Eagle, and a 4-tick, or pardon me, a 2-tick chart. Or you could do a 4-tick chart, I guess. No, 2 ticks. Because what happens is your days start to get all squishy. Right? You don't get enough spread between the days. Although this day here seemed very reasonable. Anyways, let's get back to the matter at hand. Gary looking to follow through on this cloud crossover signal, resembling a double pullback. Oh yes, I see your problem. We're into the primary support here, and you're right, it is just not wanting to budge for you. Bonds, of course, a very expensive sandbox to play in. $31.25 a tick. It adds up pretty quick. Yeah, good luck to you, Gary. Those darn lows are really dug in, aren't they? You know, like I said, as the stock market rallies, the bonds tend to go lower. In fact, I always used to have a bond chart open as a little bit of a clue as to how the bond rally, or pardon me, the stock rally might play out. So for instance, if I was watching, say, the E-mini or, well, even the NASDAQ, and there's a rally in the stock market and the bonds are not falling off, then I would have second thoughts about that stock market rally. They say the the bond traders are the smartest traders in the world. So, like I say, at $31.25 a tick, you can't afford to be wrong all that often. So if the bond traders did not see a reason to sell off, then, like I said, I would suspect that the stock rally was going to be short-lived. Well, the NASDAQ struggling a little bit here. Like I said, the temptation now will be not to get too crazy on the short side. It does look like a pullback is coming. Maybe we've got, a mini test of the extreme right here. The test of the extreme, of course, is when the market, in this case, retests the high and fails. That gives us a very good indication that the market will head lower, and our profit objective would be the hard edge of the trading band. So you can see it could work out to be a pretty profitable trade if all our ducks line up in a row. The problem is this morning's uptrend. There is no denying that is a strong uptrend. I could see the NASDAQ pulling back at least here to the open, perhaps even a full zone here to the 56.74 area, 74.75. If you were looking for perhaps a little scalp to the short side. But like I said, we're not generating anything resembling a signal just at the moment. All right. Okay, well, are we going to get a counter trend signal here? Hey, way to go, Gary. Gary says, I'm up a tick on my bond trade. Maybe the bond sellers are playing catch up. Yeah, it could be. As has been the kind of the mode for the last week or so, the markets have been very slow. Almost painfully so. All right, I thought I was going to get a counter trend signal there. Our soft edge sell didn't happen, so we'll put that back on the shelf. Here on the Hawk, we are working a 4-arrow consolidation slash macro pullback, and it's not a bad trade. The tricky part here is going to be covering this thing. Where in the world am I going to cover this trade? There's hardly any structure, ideally way down here. Maybe I'll just wait. There's never any harm in waiting. Wow. Gary says, I just saw 1,100 contracts go off at one level and no move. Was it on the bid or the ask, Gary? On the sell side. Ooh. Well, that tends to mean that the buyers are absorbing everything the sellers are chucking at them, so you might be in for a rally, my friend. You know, not a full out pedal to the metal kind of rally, but certainly maybe a little bit of an uptick. Good. Gary says I've got a one tick stop. I'll take a one tick hit if I have to. That's pretty reasonable. Wow. I wonder if this was the move of the day and if the rest of the day is just going to go sideways now and it's going to continue this again tomorrow. We've been open for an hour and it's Like Elmer Fudd likes to say, very, very quiet. Uh, that was a terrible Elmer Fudd, sorry. I'm out of practice. Yes, I know. I'll try to keep the jokes to a minimum here, Tony. There's a woodpecker outside my window going to town on one of the street lamps. I wonder how long it takes them to figure out they can't make a hole in metal before they go onto one of the trees. Still watching and waiting. We did trip here the macro pullback signal, but almost have a late filter entry signal going. Not quite, but close. Still looking at a test of the extreme here on the Raptor and perhaps a counter trend signal that would be our soft edge sell. Yes, I live on Vancouver Island, a little community just north of Victoria. Victoria on the southern tip of Vancouver Island, also the capital of the province. Yes, it is an amazing place, and yes, I am very lucky to live here. We try to keep things quiet. Whenever my wife's relatives threaten to move out here, I keep telling them the island is full. No, we are pretty lucky. Steve, I think you might be right. Steve number 2 says you should be flipping condos. I put in an offer on 3. Price number 1 price was 489, went for 530. Price number 2, 489, went for 550. Price number 3 was 390, went for 440. I know the real estate market is extremely brisk here right now. but it does seem to go through like a 10-year cycle. For the last 10 years, all I've heard are my friends complaining, oh, real estate is so down, and I'm losing money on my house, and yeah, whatever. Just wait a couple more years. It always comes back. Anybody who's ever watched the real estate market, hey, it's just like trading, right? Everybody wants to see this. Everybody wants to see the markets make a straight line. But how often does that happen? You know, this is the real estate boom right now. What happens most of the rest of the time? Prices go up, prices come down. Prices go up, prices come down. Prices go up, and so on. So trading, real estate, it doesn't matter. Whatever your investment vehicle of choice, it's all the same. But yeah, right now, I think the occupancy for rentals is sitting at around 1% or a half of 1%. It's a very, very tight real estate market at the moment. And more than a few properties are having bidding wars on their listings. And no offense to those of you who might be realtors in the room, but I see these realtors boasting about, you know, this condo sold for $20,000 over asking. Why am I paying you as a realtor? If you lowball a listing 20 grand, shouldn't you know your business a little bit better than that? Oh well. Oh, wow. Aiden is in Israel. Aiden says over here in Israel, it's a straight line up. Young families can't afford to buy apartments. It's terrible. Well, not terrible for me. I'm an owner. It's, I had no idea the Israeli market was so brisk as well. It is difficult for young families, for sure. But you know, and again, I don't know what it's like in Israel, but here, like I said, for the last decade prior, the real estate market was very soft, and I was encouraging all the young friends that I knew, go get a go buy a house, and you can probably arrange for a vendor to hold the mortgage for you, because most of them didn't qualify at the bank. And they would, you know, they'd hem and haw about it. They weren't sure. And of course, now the real estate is taking off, and they're left out of the market again. My first two houses, and I'm not boasting here, but the first two properties that we bought, I did not have the down payment. But the vendor agreed to hold the mortgage because the real estate market was so soft. He was just happy to get rid of his property. Both were brand new construction. One was a condominium, one was a townhouse. I could afford the monthly payments. I just didn't have the down payment. And this is what a lot of people overlook when they're trying to get into real estate, is that you can, there's no harm in asking, right? What's going to happen? Somebody's going to say no? Oh, well. So go ask somebody else. Wow, Tony, you're in Kansas, aren't you? Tony says homes here are on the market for about 7 days before being sold. The fastest we ever sold a house was 24 hours. Put the sign out, the next morning there was an offer on it, and by that night it was sold. It's fun when the market is really active, for sure. It's a little bit painful otherwise. Way to go, Gary. Gary made it out of bonds and break even. Yeah, he says now it'll probably drop like a lead balloon. I feel your pain. I've been there as well. Yeah, we're still working the late filter entry here, Steve. Steve says we got late filter entry on the Falcon. It hasn't printed just yet, right? We still have the warning dots. But yeah, you're right. This is definitely resembling a late filter entry. Oh my gosh, Aiden. Aiden says I bought my apartment 12 years ago for 180,000. Going to put it on the market now for more than 750. It's crazy here. Wow, that is crazy. I hope it's at least a two-bedroom condo. Prices on the mainland in Vancouver always pick up a little bit before they do here on the island, but yeah, it's bizarre in Vancouver as well. Fixer-uppers are $1 million in Vancouver. In a good part of town anyways. If you're looking on the North Shore or the West End, yeah, you can drop $1 million and then knock the house down and fix it up. Gary's asking how many square feet are you talking about in these homes? Most of the houses are 15 to 2,000 square feet. They're not huge. They're not huge homes. The Vancouver ones, they would be single family dwellings. So they would be about, again, about 2,000, maybe 2,500 square feet for a big one. But the people that are coming in who are prepared to drop $1 million on a fixer-upper, you know, they'll knock it down and they'll put a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot house on it because the lots are big. These are all houses that were built, 50, 60, 70 years ago, some of them. Some of them more recent, but a lot of them would be older homes. But in the, well kept and in nice parts of town. Yeah, for $1 million, Gary. I know it's hard to believe, but remember too, a lot of these will have waterfront. They won't be, like a house in the city. A lot of them will have gorgeous views, waterfronts. Oh my. Still waiting for something to develop here. All right, so we got a very quick trend change signal here in the Falcon. Here's that retrace we've been waiting for all morning as the sellers try to get busy. And Gary says down south you get a lot more for the money. We've got 3,600 square feet for just over 300K, but no water. What part of the world are you in, Gary? Hey, Marty. Marty says I had a place out on Barkley Sound for about 10 years. Great view, fantastic fishing. That is a beautiful part of the world. Just while we're waiting for something, here's the Vancouver Real Estate Board listings. Here's a condo for 650, another condo for 470. Here's a home. Now, mind you, it's a beautiful home for 12.6 million. Here's another home for 3.3 million. Here's another home for 5.8 million. Now, Marine Drive, that's a pretty slick part of town. That's, well, obviously that's where the millionaires live. Here's a condo for 750,000 or just shy, so you can use the extra money to go buy yourself a coffee at Starbucks. Yeah, here's a, now again, it's a mansion. It's a beautiful house, West 18th Avenue. I'm trying to place that. Obviously, oh, that's closer toward White Rock. That's a beautiful area as well. As you can see, 7.6 million. Granville Street. Now this is just your run-of-the-mill house, you know, in Vancouver. 3,600 square feet, 6.6 million. So I guess we need the markets to pick up here a little bit in order for me to afford my $1 million condo in Vancouver. My little getaway. Oh, Gary's in Columbia, South Carolina. Well, that's a beautiful part of the world, Gary. I'm surprised you haven't typed me a y'all yet. Yeah. Andrea says, are those the properties a target for the members? Yeah. You should put a little poster on a little sticker on your computer monitor. Gary says I can't spell y'all. I know, I've seen various spellings. All right, let's get back to trading. There's still nothing going on here other than this Falcon signal, and I'm not that crazy about getting short, even though I do still suspect a pullback. So we're back to the high of the morning, or the opening range, I should say. So we were talking about opening range here this morning. You can see we're right back where the market topped out at the top of opening range. Although some would argue this is, you know, since it was only a few minutes later, that the opening range high is actually right there. Hey, Robert. Robert gave me a y'all from Florida. Oh gosh, they're just kind of, we're stymied. Not enough going on to actually get a signal going. Oh, you guys, I started something now with the y'all comments. Oh, thank you, Dan. Daniel actually watching some trading here. He says, y'all, we got a first micro macro cross building here on crude oil, and sure enough, it actually the first micro macro cross. Now, my crude oil chart, I want to point out, I have on the faster setting, and the only reason I've done that is because crude oil has kind of been dragging its feet for a little while. I may put it on the regular chart again, but for the last few days I've had it on the faster setting. And so on the default settings, you may have a first micro macro cross. Here on the faster setting, I've got a macro pullback. But that does look like it's a reasonable buying opportunity given the little run up here that we've just seen. In fact, I may do that right now. We'll change crude oil back to the default. Um, trying to get a first micro macro cross lower here, but macro line not in sync. Like I said, I'm not crazy about shorting the market just yet. Okay, Gary's asking about the faster settings. Let me just review those for you. Just a moment here while I get the appropriate chart. second. Where did I put it? Here it is. Okay. So with the faster settings, what you're going to do is well, first off, you're going to go to your data series and you're going to build a 4-tick chart. Then you'll go to your indicator panel and find your Raptor. And really, we're only going to make a few settings adjustments down here. In the cloud, we're going to change it to a 6-tick and a 4-tick cloud. And then your Hawk brick size is also adjusted to 4 ticks. That's the alternate settings for the default, 4, 4, 6. So 4-tick Hawk, 4-tick Falcon, 6-tick Eagle. And what that does is it ends up speeding up your chart a little bit so that if you're looking at your chart and you've got daybreak lines like this, you're not going to get enough trades through the day. Now, if you're going to trade at end of day, if you're going to, take a signal and then hold it, then that's fine. You can certainly stay with that. But if you're looking to trade or to day trade it intraday, you're not going to generate a lot of signals. You could wait all day for one signal, or the signal may print in the middle of the night and you miss the move entirely. All right, so if your market that you're looking at looks like this, where you have all your day lines so close together, you may need to consider going with the alternate settings of 4, 4, and 6. And that's how you change it. Sure, Gary. Gary asks, can you show me the Eagle setting again? So you're just changing your brick size to 4, or pardon me, your cloud size to 6 and 4, your Hawk size to 4, and your chart itself to a 4-tick chart. Now the Eagle itself, I haven't changed anything. The Eagle is strictly the default, except it's on a 6-tick chart. So again, what that does is it speeds things up a little bit. Well, gang, we're still waiting. We're getting a soft edge sell signal. You can see here a pre-signal warning on the Raptor. You don't want to go in too heavy here. Maybe I'll get a second push opportunity. You know, ideally, like I said, we still want to be looking for buying opportunities. I'm not all that crazy about shorting it. So you definitely need to be comfortable with this amount right here. Gary, regarding the other part of your question, Gary was kind of asking regarding the settings. Are there different settings for different markets? 99% of the markets that you will trade, you can go with the default settings. The big exception is the E-mini, S&P. Bonds will also fall into this grouping because, you know, if you open up your S&P chart or your bond chart, it's going to look like this. So you're going to need to reduce the brick size and speed up your Raptor. Conversely, if you get too many bars printing, you know, if you're looking at your timestamps down here and you're getting, you know, bars like this unfolding in 5 or 10 seconds, that's happening far too quickly for you to trade. In a situation like that, you'll need to expand your brick size. You're going to need to put in a larger brick size and larger clouds to try to slow things down a little bit for you. For those of you trading stocks with the Raptor or the DTS system, you may have to adjust your brick size that way. All right, well, I do expect the market to probably try to tail off and get back down toward this hard edge, maybe around the 56, 67 quarter, 56, even 70 if it came up a little bit short. I'm still more bullish, though. You know, given the early rally, it makes more sense to look for an opportunity to buy. All right, I think we're going to close up shop here this morning. Anyhow, that may well have been the move of the day. I'm not sure the sellers can get in a full-blown reversal here, but rather we may see the market drift sideways for the remainder of the session. Like I said, I think your best opportunities will still be on the buy side, but don't be surprised if the market begins ranging sideways. All right, boys and girls, we'll do this all again tomorrow. We'll talk to you then. Bye for now.